Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy we're bringing up the appeal in this case because this committee has focused for a year and a half on a Fifth Circuit case, has brought before us as a witness the lawyer for that case twice to argue that the Biden administration had improperly censored social media companies. I'm surprised we haven't yet heard about the ultimate decision on appeal by the Supreme Court, which dismissed the case. So it's pretty fascinating to me that we don't have follow-up on the appeals of a case that we're so excited about the appellate process when the Supreme Court dismissed it. Mr. Fahey, I want to just touch upon a couple things you said before I move into the crux of my questioning. Am I right that I heard you say that it's unheard of to bring a fraud case without losses to individual victims?
I cannot think of a situation where that's occurred. I'm not saying it hasn't.
So you're saying that every books and records case has losses to victims?
I'm saying every fraud case that I was involved, either prosecuting or knowing about, usually had somebody that was harmed.
But this was a books and records charge, yes?
Well, I think it's based on a fraud case that somebody committed fraud on the books and records, yes.
So a fraud on the books and records?
Yeah, I think the allegation is they were incorrect or fraudulent entries in the books or the records, yes.
Right, and so you're saying that every single books and records fraudulent entry, which is a false entry, has lost to individual victims? Is that your testimony?
That's not at all my testimony. I said fraud cases are generally not prosecuted without victims. And
that's true. Murder cases are generally not prosecuted without victims too, but we're talking about books and records here.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the term fraud on the market?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean,
you should look into that.
And
you should look into, let me give you another example of a fraud case that doesn't have a loss to an individual victim, which would be any insider trading case. So
other than they would have potential victims and other people harmed, this is a case where
go look up fraud on the market. There are no individual victims with losses, and yet those cases are charged
there's an overall
all of the time.
Harm in those cases.
You know, we're focused here on the weaponization of the government as usual, and I'm just struck by the fact that we have a Republican majority that is accusing other people of weaponizing government, when let's look at what this committee and this Republican majority has done. My colleague, Ms. Crockett, ably went through the separation of powers. Mr. Wu, were you aware that this committee held a hearing with Robert Costello as a witness, who was the former attorney of Michael Cohen?
Yes.
And that hearing was during the trial?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that was an appropriate way of trying to elicit testimony to impeach a witness in a trial in a congressional hearing?
No, I think it interferes with the trial.
Now, interestingly, when he was here, I suggested that he go testify in the trial, and he did. That's the appropriate place for where he should be, right?
Exactly.
And Mr. Trump's attorney had an opportunity to cross-examine him, did he not?
Yes.
And Mr. Trump's attorney had, I believe, 3 days of cross-examination of Michael Cohen, did he not?
Yes, I think that's right.
And ultimately, the jury heard all of that, right? Yes. And all of the other evidence, and decided unanimously that he was guilty.
That's right.
Are you aware of the about 24 members of the House Republican Party writing an amicus brief to a district judge about the Hunter Biden case?
Yes.
So let me just get this straight. We have legislators, elected officials, trying to intervene in an ongoing criminal case. Is that what happened?
That's what it sounds like.
And they're proud of it, by the way. They are so excited and take credit for undermining Hunter Biden's plea agreement by interfering in that case. That is the misuse of official authority and weaponization of this committee, this body. And what Donald Trump has vowed to do is weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political rivals, a revenge and retribution tour. And the notion that this committee is accusing Democrats of weaponizing the federal government when the President of the United States did not intervene in the prosecution of his own son. Give me a break. Why don't you focus on taking care of your own party and your own weaponization and stop projecting where it doesn't exist? And I yield back.
We appreciate the gentleman. The gentleman from North Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.